Hello, Mason here. I'm going to show you why I made Shave and Fade and some fun things that you can do with it to get started. So in this video, I just have Shave and Fade on the master bus, so it's going to be affecting everything in this little loop. It's a macro control. Using this barber pole slider, you can simultaneously control high pass filter cutoff, low pass filter cutoff, and gain as determined by these curve adjusters. So if you've ever low passed a sound to filter it all the way out of your mix, you may have noticed this little problem. Let's go to a low pass preset. I'm going to deviate from this just a little bit to illustrate a point. So now we're just traversing this low pass filter sweep. It sounds like we're going underwater, which is great, but once I get to the bottom, you might notice that our meter is still showing that we have signal coming through. I don't hear very much of it on my headphones, but if you have a nicer setup that you're listening to this through, you could probably hear the rumble still. Different filters are going to sound different down here, but even though all the frequencies are heavily attenuated, some of those ultra low frequencies are still going to come through. So in order to keep the mix clean, when I'm fading a sound out like this, I usually go back in and automate the volume as well, so that I can just gain the sound out, get all those frequencies out of there, and be on my merry way. So with Shave and Fade, we could do both at the same time. So maybe I still want to be able to hear all of that filtery goodness and then just dip the gain at the very end just for tidiness. Pretty much sounds the same as before so far, but here now we're going to dip the gain and we can see on our meter that we have full attenuation. So we also have a high pass filter at our disposal, so we could very easily turn this into a band pass fade out. Because we have these curve adjusters, we have total freedom to dial in the interaction between these filters as we traverse the paths however we want. So maybe we could go to a band pass halfway through the fade out, but then transition back to primarily a low pass sound. So there's no rule that the right has to be full pass through and the left is fully shaved and faded. We can use this in a non-directional way as well, and one of my favorite presets that does this is dropout. We have the full signal passing through here on this side and on this side. Just a small dropout in between. Shave and Fade also has modulation capability built in. Here we're using synced modulation. This result is extremely predictable, which is great if you want that. We also have a second instance of this modulation that's free running, and we can crossfade between the phase of each LFO, which adds a really nice variation to it. It's the same idea, but it sounds a little bit different every time. Modulation is applied either positively or negatively with the base point of wherever our barber pole slider is. This is really handy if you only want modulation when you're departing from the minimum or the maximum. This is all positive modulation, so with the slider at its max, we don't hear any modulation, but we do get it as we initiate our fade. And if we want the sound to be completely faded out when we're at our minimum, we don't want to modulate gain anymore, so we could just nix that, and now we have our full attenuation. Maybe in a case like this where I'm modulating the low pass so much, I might actually want to lean into the volume fade more so that the signal is actually getting quieter, even though the low pass filter frequency cutoff is being modulated so much. And of course, we could also just dial back the modulation to taste. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy shaving and fading your music. In future videos, I'm going to go into more detail about what you can do with curve adjusters and this modulation setup that I have in my new Synths of Self plugins. See you next time.